Hello, everybody. We are live and welcome to the Bliss Code Podcast. I have a special guest that I'm so excited about, my friend, Jade Pruett from Hello SEO. Hello, SEO.
Hey, so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yes, I'm glad that you're here too. It's just important with me for so many reasons to have you here. One, just to reconnect with you. Like me building this brand the way that I have is a great excuse to just connect with all the people that I've met. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And just to show the other women in the group the power of connection, what we can learn from each other, how we can grow from each other, and how we can be expanded from connecting with each other and networking with each other. You know what I mean? It's like a
definitely.
see to believe thing. Like, wait a minute, Jade runs her own business. Maybe I can run my own business.
Exactly. If I can do it, you
You
can
know?
certainly do.
Yeah, you've really inspired me a lot over the time that we've known each other. Jade and I met at a women's co-working space, right?
Mhm.
Called FEM, which is so like near and dear to our hearts. And I had just quit my job, I think. And you were not too far ahead of me in that.
Yeah.
I think it had been just a few because I quit in March. I remember you had quit in October.
Yes, exactly. So, yeah, just a few months apart. I remember we met
Yes.
at Pitchy Woman, which is like a Friday morning networking event where we practice our pitches together. And you had
Yeah.
just quit. And I was like, I think I had finally gotten to the point where I was like, okay, quitting wasn't a terrible idea. So I was like ready to like give you all the advice as someone who had done it 5 months ago.
I know, but it was so good because seeing other women who had decided to bet on themselves, like somebody I could touch and befriend and go to lunch with, it's like, girl, okay, I think I can make this happen. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, that was expansive for me.
That's awesome.
Have you
Yeah, that
have
was
you
really
had
fun.
have you had other women in your life that have expanded you to the place where you are?
100%. And you probably know most of them. So, of course, Nell from FEM, who
Yeah,
owns FEM,
yeah.
was like so important in my journey. And then, of course, I believe it's both of our advisors, Agatha and Christy, who just like
Yes.
blew me away. But really, it was the entire FEM community. And now it's like the entrepreneurista community and everywhere else that we're plugged in, where everyone's so willing to just tell you exactly how their stories went down. Honestly and
Mhm.
authentically, it's never just like, yeah, I just woke up and was incredibly successful and never had a bad moment. Um,
Mhm.
but also early on, I listened to a ton of podcasts, probably pretty similar to this one. And what I really wanted to know was like, how much money were you making before? How much money are you making now? What
Yeah.
was the process? How crazy are your days? Like the real information, not just like, oh, yeah, like marketing is beneficial to your business or whatever. I need the
Yeah,
data.
like not trying to sell us something, like give me the juice. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
I
exactly.
need to know if this can be real for me.
Right, right. And what does success look like when people were talking about it kind of just so like I don't know what's the word abstractly. And
Mhm.
also like a lot of the podcasts you listen to is people who are like mega successful and running like
True.
massive businesses, which is incredibly inspiring. Like I'm reading the book about the woman who founded Glossier right now and it's incredible. But
Oh,
I
okay.
also want to know about the people who were like, yeah, I was, making 45K at my job and now I'm making over six figures and like it's really benefited
Yes.
our actual lives. Like I need those
Yes.
stories.
Hello, we need those stories. And you're one of
Yes.
those stories.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I guess I am
what
now. That's weird.
yes, you are. Like you are somebody now. Whoa, this is like crazy. I just thought about this. Someone now is listening to you and you're giving what you needed at that time.
Oh my gosh. That's the dream too. That's like exactly what I would love to be doing all the time.
Yes. I love it. Okay, let's get into SEO. Boom. What the heck is
What
SEO,
the heck
girl?
is
Tell us.
SEO? SEO is search engine optimization. It is a
Mm-hmm.
series of tactics and strategies to help your website rank as high in Google searches as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And the real question is, why do you need to rank highly in a Google search? And
Yeah.
essentially, whenever you're Googling anything, and people Google without even realizing they're Googling these days, it's like if you have a
Mm-hmm.
question, you just automatically pull your phone up. But whoever is ranking really high in those results, like in the first to fifth position, are most likely who you're going to click on. Like you're not going to Google something and scroll to the third page of Google to decide who you're going to select. If
You've
you need a
never even been
dentist,
to the third page of Google. What is
right? No
even
one's ever
on?
been there. No one's seen it.
Does it
Uh,
actually exist?
it is there technically, but it's like, why is it there? It's
Mm-hmm.
only there
Mm-hmm.
for those people to know that they're not on the first page. But like if you're in a new town and you need a dentist, you're going to Google dentist near me, and you're probably going to pick
That's
someone who's in
true.
those on that first page. You're definitely not going to the second page. But even on the first
True.
page, how high you are is going to really determine how much traffic you're getting. And when you're getting
Mm-hmm.
that traffic, you're getting new clients. And so it's like a incredible pipeline of people who are literally looking for your services to just connecting with you without you doing anything.
Okay. Okay. That's funny because I had this question if I was going to get to it later, but like you reminded me of it now. I had like a horror story, right? And it was when I first started my business. Like I started my business before I quit my job, right?
Mhm.
And I just was trying to figure out like what it was going to be. And I knew that I wanted to like coach and mentor people and stuff like that. And I just woke up in the middle of the night one day and was like the girlfriend experience, right? And so that's actually still like what my LLC is. And I was like, this is my style, like this is my delivery style. Like it's like, hey, I'm your best friend. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
But I did not consider like that term, you know what I mean? And exactly like what it meant. So for those of you who don't know, like the girlfriend experience is like, I guess you could say like a woman of the night.
Oh God.
Think of Pretty Woman, okay, but a not so glamorous story where it's like you're a woman for hire and you're giving somebody like an experience that doesn't feel like a paid experience. And that's what I was thinking of for myself, like, oh, it doesn't feel like a paid experience, whatever. Like, I'm just your girlfriend. But no, I was getting like calls and emails and things for people who were looking for something that I was not selling. So
That's
so
incredible.
that like tells me like, hold on, what people, and I wasn't promoting to them. They didn't see what I had, because obviously if they saw what I had, they would have known what the girlfriend experience was about. So do you have any like horror stories around that where it's like people were using the wrong wording or like the names of their business or whatever?
Oh my gosh. Not that directly. And that's a really good, I guess, case study in user intent, because it's like you were
Mm-hmm.
driving traffic to your website. So I'm sure your numbers were
Yeah.
going up, but your conversions are certainly not going up. And also, everyone who gets to your website is very confused.
Right. Like,
Everyone's
wait a
confused.
minute. I thought I was coming
Yes,
here to get a girlfriend.
right. But as you can imagine, large part of my job is digging through databases of what people are Googling. And
Okay.
people are Googling everything. So
Can't even imagine.
I I have a client, or I had a client who was like a luxury shoe uh, creator, designer, and she did a collaboration with Mandy Moore. And one of her top keywords when we started working together was Mandy Moore feet. And it's like, that's definitely
No
not what we're
way.
trying to go for here. But it like, Google just doesn't sometimes pick up on the nuances here of what people are searching for. So
Oh
that was
my
an
goodness.
interesting one. And I had to get to know her a little bit before I was like, okay, I think I can share this kind of funny anecdote with you now. But
Yes.
first call in, I was like, I don't know you well enough to know if this is going to be funny to you or horrifying, but it's just one of those things that happens.
A little of both. So wait,
Right.
so you Googled her ahead of time because you were working with her, and that's what came up is the feet?
So I have a bunch of tools that I can use, and I can plug in anyone's
Mhm.
website and see what keywords they will show up for.
Okay.
And that was one of
Okay.
them. And that does come up a lot with like clothing brands, and like when you get into like the depths of what people are searching for, sometimes you can find some weird stuff. I'm in a group with a bunch of women who do SEO, and we'll, throw out a fun question sometimes of like, what's the craziest thing you've tried to rank for? And this one woman was like, I'm literally the SEO person for a porn site. I can't share
What?
anything that we're working on. So
What?
that all exists. That's all a part of this world. Sorry if you don't want any of that on your podcast.
Yeah. No, hey, this is real life. This is what I would be talking to you about if the cameras weren't rolling. So
Right.
I want to hear it. You know what I'm saying? So, okay, you're in an SEO group.
Mhm.
Obviously, you find the power of community important, and I do too. And I want other women to see how important it is to be in community. How has being in that SEO group served you?
So I have found almost all of my employees in that group for one thing. I'm not as active
Mm.
as I used to be, but there will be SEO conferences and they will be like, hey, we have 50 tickets. Who wants a ticket? And we'll
Oh.
just get tickets to the conference and we'll all meet up when we get there and like all be best friends. Um, I went to a conference in Seattle. I literally didn't know a single person there. I went by myself and I ended up making one of my best friends. She's an Australian SEO and we still talk like every single day. Um,
Mhm.
so community is incredibly important to me. And you already knew that
Yeah.
just from our
Yeah.
time at FEM.
Yeah, yeah. So important. So important. And it's important for me to build my brand in congruency with my lifestyle. Like
Mhm.
my brand is really has a lot to do with my lifestyle and the way that I want to be in the world. And so, yeah, community is super important to me. And I've made friends like you know, people that I want to hang out in the real world. It's crazy, like being an entrepreneur now, you get to pick and choose who you like and who you want to be your coworkers. You know what I'm saying? Because
Totally.
it's like your coworker doesn't have to be somebody in the same building as you, doing the same thing as you. It's like your business has nothing to do with my business, but we still find a way to connect anyway, or go to lunch together, or we both know now, Emily, we're both an entreprenista together.
Right.
And Emily was just on the podcast a couple of hours ago, and she told me she's coming in town. And I'm like, oh, yay, she's coming down,
I
and
know.
I know we're all going to link up together. You know what I'm saying? Just having somebody that's like, yeah, I can keep doing this.
Right, for sure. And like it's really nice when you can kind of take off the table that every relationship you have has to be transactional or like you have to be getting something
Hmm.
out of it for business for it to matter. Cuz like
Yeah,
our businesses don't align perfectly, but like I recommended Entreprenista, so now you're in there and now we're meeting all the same people and
right.
building all these connections and like incredible things are happening. I got like 3 shout
Exactly.
outs in the Emily episode and I was like, "Oh, this is perfect."
Yes.
But I just and also it's like our journeys are actually really similar despite the fact that we
Hmm.
do entirely different things. And like
Hmm.
sometimes you just need support and friends and someone to go to
Yes.
lunch with. And like it doesn't matter. Like you don't have to put like a value on the friendships and connections that you have.
Yeah, I love it. And the crazy thing is, even though it's not transactional, you can end up making money from it and making more connections from it, because just us in conversation, or who we end up knowing, or who we introduce each other to, you never know where that's going to go. You never know where your next referral is going to come from.
Exactly. Yeah. And like
Hmm.
I don't know if you've experienced this, but like every client I get, it feels like this magical experience of like 1,000 invisible strings that have brought us together. And it's always
Yeah,
like through the connections I've had, or like I'll be on your podcast and then someone will hear it. And that'll be like
yeah.
the third time they've heard of me. And they're like, oh, it's officially time to to reach out or something like that.
Exactly. Exactly. Okay, you know what? You're thinking like hippie vibe thoughts like me, like I do. When I go out in nature, when I go to the park, I like look at the trees or the stones or the water, whatever. And I'm like you said, the thousand strings that
Mhm.
put all of this together right here, right now, exactly as it is, that rock, exactly the size that it is, with all of its lumps and bumps and curves. Like it took years and years, like, to get there. And I think about all of those little abstract things, and it's just so crazy. I think I was talking to Emily a little bit about like 6 degrees of separation, and it's like how close you are to somebody by proximity. You never know what's going to happen in your life, immersing yourself and putting yourself in these environments.
Right. Yeah. You
Yeah,
literally never know. And so
you
there's no
never know.
reason to stress about it either. Because it's like what is for you is going to come to you, which is something that Agatha
Hello.
would tell us all the time.
Yep, it's yours. And now move towards it, and claim
Yeah.
it and own it. Yeah. So
And that's
tell
really
me some. Oh, I'm
oh,
sorry. Go, go, go.
oh no, I was
I'm
gonna say
sorry.
like that's another thing I've noticed is like the more successful women get in business, and I'm not speaking of myself. I see it all around me. The more
Mm-hmm.
woo-woo you get, like I am a very like data-driven, logical person. But as you know,
Mm-hmm.
like we started pulling tarot cards every Monday morning at Femme, and like one
Mm-hmm.
week we couldn't find the tarot cards, and we're like, what are we gonna do this week? Like we need these.
Yes. Yes. You need that outside guidance. And I mean, like the woo-woo, to be honest, like that's taking it to the next level.
Mhm.
And a lot of times when you work with somebody, like they're checking your energy first. Like that's a lot of times the first thing. And tell me if you can relate to this, because I know Emily was talking about this too. It's like, yes, she has this client that she's working on with their branding, but she's got to get them together like mentally, spiritually on their inside and everything. And it's like that's
Definitely.
the first layer in business is, you know, your insides, like working on yourself and your personal development and connecting with, your spirituality and all of that, and just the personal development piece that is all of that, because that's what the woo woo is, the magic, the spiritual or whatever that is, people's connection with the divine and their spirituality, how they see it, and really connecting with yourself is how you really soar in business, is that the inside work.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's
Yeah.
kind of funny because obviously what I do is very like, these are the things people are searching for. Let's get you to show up for those. Like it can seem very just like numbers on paper. But
Mhm.
what I'm doing a lot of the time is helping people make connections. So it's like, I'm going to drive traffic to your business. But if you can't
Mhm.
make a connection with that traffic, or it's the wrong traffic, or and by traffic I mean literal people coming to your site, if you're not creating the
Mhm.
content that's going to resonate with them, it's kind of like, well, what are we doing all of this for? So a
That's
big part
right.
of my job is helping you show up as yourself and creating content that not only Google is going to like, but the user is going to like, so that they make it all
Mhm.
the way down your funnel. And like
Exactly.
for a dentist, it can seem super straightforward. If it's like a plumber, it's like, okay, they showed up and you filled out the form, whatever, done. But then when
Mhm.
it's something like what you offer or even what Emily offers, like you need that connection for someone to want to invest in you. And same for me.
Mhm. Mhm. Same. I mean, I agree. It's searching for, like you said, that connection. What is the word that's going to be the connection? Because what you think, your words are, you've got to think of what your audience words are and what's going to connect with them, and like you said, what they're searching for. So
Right.
when you work with people, right, you take them from like getting less traffic to getting more traffic. So what is like a before and after story that you have? I know one of our other friends, colleagues, whatever you want to call it, Bailey, had talked about a workshop that she did with you with SEO. And she was like, I was getting so many customers. She had to turn it off or change it or something. She was getting so much traffic in.
Yeah.
So do you have any other before or after stories like that, or more about Bailey and her experience?
Bailey was such an interesting experience for me because it was super early on. Like, I don't even know if you and I had met yet. And I just showed up to
Mm-hmm.
Pitchy Woman and people were talking about like creating their content strategies for the next month or something. Like, what are we going to blog about? What are we going to talk about on social media? And I was like, I have some stuff I've been working on, like that I would love to share of just how to decide what to write about.
Mm-hmm.
And she is I feel like I'm being reductive calling her a massage therapist, but she does manual lymphatic drainage for people who
Yes.
have lipedema. And
Yes, you
so we
got
ended up,
it.
yeah. So we ended up pulling up one of my tools that we could actually dig into, like, what are people who have this condition actually looking for? And
Mm.
just sitting there together, at Pitchy Woman, we came up with a few ideas for her. She wrote her own blogs. I didn't even optimize them afterwards, but they absolutely blew up. And then I think a few months later, we kind of revisited. And I was like, you're killing it. Like, you're killing it on a national level. Like, you can only even serve people in Colombia, but you're answering these people's questions across the entire country because no one has thought to invest the time to just answer these questions as an expert on these topics that a lot of people are worried about. So that was definitely a really cool story. And it really benefited her business, which is like what really matters at the end of the day. I feel like a lot of my magical stories come from power hours, which is where I just sit down with someone for an hour and do SEO on their site. Because obviously when we have months and months and months, it's like we're watching it grow. It's amazing, whatever. But when we literally just have an hour and we can get someone to the first spot in Google for whatever they offer and like literally see the return on investment on that within a few months, those are really cool. I enjoy it.
Yeah. I did a power hour with you and it was so insightful. And I remember my power hour had like a lot of keywords that people were looking for. Yeah. But it helped me to start thinking from their head and not my head.
Yes, definitely.
You know
That's a big
I mean?
one.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I run into that a lot where people, they have their own idea of who their ideal customer is and like what their worries are and things like that. And then we actually get into the data and it's completely different. Even just like with what they're searching, because obviously like I'm in the weeds of SEO every single day. So, but I want to be finding people who don't really know anything about SEO. So it's like, what are they searching over someone who's already a subject matter expert who's searching these like high level things that I care about or I think are important.
Right. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you said that because I was actually talking to somebody about that. It was like a week or two ago and kind of giving her some advice or whatever. She was kind of, struggling with people understanding her as a business owner or understanding her business. And she was talking to me about it. And I said, well, what is it that you do? And so she was talking to me about her business and she started using all of these industry terms.
Yes.
And she was speaking, and I know her peers would know what she was talking about, but I wasn't in her industry and I had no idea what she was talking about. And I had to ask so many follow-up questions to really dig and dig and dig. And then I had to reframe it myself. And your customer is not going to do all of that.
No.
You've got to use the language that they are looking for.
Exactly.
Instead of the language of your peers,
100%.
Did you find that a lot when you're working with people like in your power hours? I guess you find that it's totally different because they're in the mindset, they know what they're talking about basically because they've been in it so long. But their customers are using the simplest terms you could ever think of. Like I know me, for instance, I hate being called a life coach. I don't know, but I'm like moving more and more towards just saying that and using that because it's like, hello, this is what people are looking for when they're looking for someone like you. So has anybody given you any pushback or anything on terms like that that they thought were too simple?
For sure. And like sometimes it's very valid. I was working with, I think you know her as well, coaching with KD, who is a IVF coach.
Yes.
And we did a power hour recently and no one's searching really for IVF coach or, especially like she helps you with like the mental side of going through IVF because it's obviously very, very challenging and like a very long process. Yeah. But people are searching for fertility coach all the time. And in my head, I'm like, oh, well, let's just say you're a fertility coach. And she's like, yeah, but like they make a lot of promises. Sometimes they can't keep. And like, it's just not really what I do. And so sometimes it's like, even if like the data is here and it's like, we need to get these people to your website, if it doesn't align with the business owner, then it's not worth doing. Or if it's like your situation with the girlfriend experience and it's just going to bring the absolute wrong person in, they're going to have the wrong idea, then it's also not worth working with. Another fun story, I had another client, she's a cosmetic surgeon. She is like so advanced. Like she's a doctor. She knows exactly what she's talking about, but it doesn't really, like when she's talking to someone who's considering coming in for liposuction or something like that, she is like over their heads. And we were creating blogs with her. And we create blogs by literally interviewing people. Like they'll just sit in front of a mic. I'll ask them questions. We'll transcribe the whole thing. It's really cool.
Oh, smart.
And it ended up working out really well in her favor because she could give all those high level details. But every once in a while, I would have to be like, okay, so like, let's bring that down like 1,000 notches to like, what is like the absolute basics of what these things are? Because we needed the balance of both. It's like, we need your expertise, but we also need like the very, very basic version of this. But we figured it out. You have to be open to feedback sometimes.
Yes, you do. And meeting your client where they are, not where you are already.
Right.
So tell me, what are your personal hashtags or keywords?
That's a great question. I think on my LinkedIn, it's, SEO, AI, and Taylor Swift. But when I optimized my own website, I selected, SEO agency in our area, Columbia, South Carolina, to rank for. And as I build the authority of my own website over time, I'll expand to a more national audience and can niche in different ways, which is another thing to think about with SEO. Like, depending on how long your website's been around and how authoritative it is, you can rank for other things. So long term, we're looking at ranking for things across the entire country. But right now, we're doing well on page 1 for SEO agency.
For local.
Yeah.
Love it. And what about your Jade Pruett, the person, if you had to choose a keyword for yourself?
Oh, that's adorable. I don't know.
What would that be?
That's a great question.
Maybe you'll think by the time we're done talking.
Okay, yeah, let me ruminate on it. That's a good question.
All right, tell us a little bit about like behind the scenes of Hello SEO, in your day-to-day. What does it look like? Working and fitting in your lifestyle? How does that all work?
That's a great question. I brought my husband on to do some work with me. Let's say like 10-ish months ago. Yeah, that was really cool. That's really fun.
Yeah.
But I was bringing him into FEM and we were working together like side by side every day. And he, I guess, really hadn't been exposed to the type of person I am in a work setting before. And he kind of called me out. He's like, you don't shut it off. Like you go and go and go forever. And I started kind of paying attention to my own behavior. And he wasn't necessarily saying it as a bad thing. He's like, I'm really impressed. I see why you're so successful. But literally it's like, I would work 14 hours a day, just sit there and drink Americano after Americano, work in front of my computer, like absolutely no work-life balance, which is kind of fine when it's just me and my husband. But it's like, as we're looking towards the future and like starting a family and stuff, it's like, I need to find better balance with my work. So that's been kind of the challenge as of late. It's like, how am I going to I need to learn how to step back, because even when I wasn't sitting in front of my computer, I was just thinking about work all the time and typically stressing about work, checking my email the moment I wake up. And like for a while early in business, sometimes that's necessary. And like, that's just what you have to do. No shame to anyone, including myself.
Yeah.
But it does get to that point where it's like, why did I build this business? Was to be more flexible and get to like have a family and like do all these other things. So now a day in my life looks like I typically work 4 to 5 hours a day. I sleep in aggressively, which I love. I woke up at like 10:30 this morning.
Ooh.
I know.
That's good sleep, baby.
It was great. And then I have coffee with my husband. We hang out. We work from home now. So it's like, we don't even have to like really get dressed and like leave the house to get anything done. Very slow mornings. And then typically in the afternoon is where I like sit down and really get my work done. I have a full team now. And so I'm not really in the like nitty gritty operations of like every single person's SEO all day, every day. I have a certain amount of meetings I'll take a week. I don't take meetings in the last week of every month. So this is my like out of office week of like not doing any meetings, and just like catching up on stuff and just like taking it slow, eating lunch in front of the TV or with my husband, or we'll go out, and just finding a lot of flexibility in my work life these days.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful, because even if you don't have it all the way you want it to be, I'm sure it's loads away from what it used to be when you first got in the game. And just to be able to decide on your days, to decide, okay, I'm not going to work the last week of the month, or I'm not going to take appointments the last week of the month, or I'm going to have slow mornings, and I'm going to bring my husband on, or whatever it is that you want to do, whatever it is, the way you see for your life. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to sit back and like reflect on that. Like, whoa.
Right. And there's like, at least for someone like me, it's like the very like high performing, I like high performing better than high achieving, because it's like the results don't actually come from the insanity of never quitting work. But like I used to just work all the time and like every weekend, like just constantly. It was like, how can I fill all of my space with things? Because there's an endless amount of things to do. I'm sure you're aware.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But now it's really like, what can I actually outsource? What can I give to someone else so that I have space to like think? I don't know. It's very nice. And also just like actually live the life that I want to live.
Yes. I think that's all what we are like going after. I know my word of the year is autopilot.
I love
and
that.
I'm trying to actively think all the time, what can be automated? What can be set up to flow in the background? Like what systems can I put in place so I can live my life? So it's actually like I'm building this to be able to use my work where it works for me, and I get to live. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And like I was trying to say earlier, like I find a lot of shame in that for some reason. And I had to have Christy like
What?
talk me down recently,
Mhm.
because I'm like, am I a bad business owner if I'm trying to like take a step back and not just be
Heck
like
no.
go all the time? And she was like, of course not. Like, we helped you build this business so that you could have the life that you want, not so that you could just work all the time and like, never get away from your computer and be miserable. But I guess it's just like the type of person I am. I like, that is the work, not to get me to, the work is not working, essentially, the mental work.
Exactly.
If that makes any sense.
Yes, the goal is to get you to not have to work. Yeah, and that's why you spent all those days drinking Americano after Americano, checking your email as soon as you got up, because you were building that foundation. I read this book, and I follow this woman named Rachel Rogers. She wrote this book, We Should All Be Millionaires. I don't know if you've heard of her.
No.
But yeah, you should definitely look her up. She's awesome. She's a powerhouse. She's a big deal. And she just talks about, what does she say? Work hard first, or work hard up front. Basically, put the work in so that you can coast.
Yeah.
So yeah, you should definitely be proud
awesome.
of yourself. Don't be ashamed of that at all, because you had an idea of when you left your job, when you quit your job, when you were like, I'm gonna walk away. You had an idea of how it was supposed to look. How was that experience? Like, how was deciding, okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to jump.
That was super terrifying. I was going to plug in first. There's a guy named Scott Galloway. He's written a lot of good books as well. And he has a thing about like, you don't typically get to have work-life balance from like the moment you graduate college, which I think a lot of people kind of expect. And like, you certainly can, like, if that's like the priority and whatever. But he was kind of saying the same thing. It's like, grind in your 20s, do not have a work-life balance. And then later in life, you can actually have that. And I'm seeing that in like spades right now. Like, we have the most amazing, coziest little life of like endless time to spend together, sleeping in until 10. And it's because I worked so hard earlier on. So it's like, I can thank that person and then also move on.
Did you see that girl online? I don't remember what platform she was on, but it went viral where she was just starting her work career and she was crying. She was like, by the time I get home, I barely can live my life. Like she was just entering the work world and it slammed her. It was
Oh
like,
my gosh.
you're gonna work all day. And no, you're not gonna have a life after that. Did you see that?
No, but I totally get it.
Poor thing.
It's so
She was
miserable.
distraught. She didn't know what it was gonna be like.
And also, like, if you think that that's going to be that way forever, which it is for a lot of people, it's devastating. That's so much.
Mhm.
I had the biggest, this is so ridiculous, but like on my first day of my first full time job, I realized that you don't actually work 9 to 5. You work like 9 to 6. And typically you work even longer than that.
Mhm.
And it like, I was like, this is an adjustment. This is going to take some time. And also, I was living in Atlanta, so I was commuting like 4 hours a day. So it's like, there literally would have been
Girl.
no way to like have kids and have a family and all that kind of stuff in that
Oh
environment.
my gosh. Yeah, you remind me 9 to 5, even if your hours are 9 to 5, you're still working longer than 9 to 5 because you still got to get there and you still got to get dressed.
And you got to eat lunch. They like make you take an hour off for lunch, which is so rude. They're not
But
paying you for
even
that time.
then, you still belong to them during that time because you can't go but so far.
No.
You've got
Yeah,
to
you
like
can go
bring your
home.
lunch or yeah, no. You still belong to them on your lunch break.
Such a mess.
So those are some of the things that I was thinking about when I was getting ready to quit my job. Like, they own me. I'm done
And
with this.
they tell you exactly how much you're going to get paid. And then they'll give you a raise like every once in a while. But as a business owner, you can just give yourself a raise whenever you want. You can just like get another client
Ooh.
or just make more money.
Ooh. Ooh.
For real.
Yes. You can.
Yeah, I got a raise
I
in
love
2021 as like my first promotion, and I got an extra 4,500 a year. And it was a life-changing amount of money at the time. And now
Mhm.
I think it's like that's a client for 2 months. Like just go get a new
Yes.
client and you've done it. And then you can do it
Yes.
again.
Ooh, I love it. This is so inspiring. Just go get a new client. Oh, you need some
Yeah.
money? Okay, hold on. Just go get you a new client. It's
Right.
just that
Yeah.
easy.
Yeah. Like if if my husband and I are ever like, "Oh, well, we want to go on a vacation or something like that." We can just be like, "Oh, I'll sell some more content hubs and we'll have extra money." And we'll go on vacation. It'll be great.
I love that because I talk to people about a lot about mindset, and about language and things like that and how they're framing things. And I remember talking to one woman and she was saying that she was wishing for less bills or, oh, I wish I
Mm,
had sometimes we wish for the wrong things. Instead of wishing for less, wish for more, wish for the capacity to take care of that. I was like, shoot, give me more bills. Give me some really expensive bills because that means that I've got the money and the capacity to be able to take care of that. So start framing your mind in a different way of adding on instead of taking away. Just like you said, we need this. Okay, how are we going to get it? Instead of, oh, here's our fixed income. We can't go on vacation.
absolutely. Yeah. And I've been bringing on employees pretty aggressively recently.
Mhm.
And that's always scary because that's literally less money in my pocket in the short term. But
Mhm.
when I do not have to be doing that job within my business, I'm working on personal branding and going out and finding new clients. And it always leads to more over time. But it is kind of that like in the short term, I feel like I'm making less. And like that's getting less terrifying as I move on. But that's kind of that same thing of like, you have to kind of like if you build it they will come, I think is kind of the
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
vibe. Like
Yeah.
give me more and I will meet the new level or meet the new
That's
challenge.
right. That's right. Free you up to do things that you can make even more money on. And I always call it like short-term sacrifice for long-term gain.
Exactly.
Yeah. So let's talk about more about SEO. Tell us like what's new, what's new in the world of SEO that we should know. I know there's a lot of AI stuff going on right now, and I know that that has made some changes in your business in the world of how we find each other.
I feel so terrible. I keep like derailing all of your questions. You asked a really good question earlier and I derailed that one and now I can't remember
Girl,
what it
we
is.
are talking.
Can we go back?
We will go back. We will go back.
And then I'll talk about AI.
Okay, then we can talk about AI. So I wanted to know about your quitting your job experience. I wanted to know, like, how was that? How did you get pushed out of like, what made you make the decision? Okay, I'm going. Like, how was it? Give us the scoop.
So it was 2022 and I was working full time at a very like prestigious semiconductor startup. It was a great job. And when I got that job, I had to schedule like an emergency session with my therapist to just process the fact that I had somehow gotten this job. I was so proud of it. It was incredible. And like I was making more money than I ever had. And I kind of had Hello SEO as a side hustle, even then, like as I was starting that gig. And suddenly I needed to match the income of that job to quit that job.
Okay.
But while still working at like a very high pace, like startup environment that was very demanding. It's not a passive gig at all.
Okay.
And I spent a lot of
time. You couldn't quiet quit. No quiet quitting.
No. Which is when I was most certainly working 14 hours a day, every single day, absolutely losing my mind. There was a lot of like crying that happened that year because I was like,
girl.
Because also we were already thinking about kids and like everything we wanted to do there. And I'm like, do I just give up on having my own business and like focus on these other things? Because it's also like, how do you navigate maternity leave as an entrepreneur? I still have zero idea. But like, it was like, how do I make these decisions? Like, what do I do? And it was kind of like, what dream do I like give up on? Which is like a terrible place to be in.
Aww.
And I think Hello SEO was making like a solid like $1,500 a month at the time. Like it was like a nice little like bonus income, but it was just like nothing what it needed to be to like get out of this gig. And then I meet Agatha, who's an incredible advisor who you know.
Yes.
I would recommend her to anyone. If anyone needs an intro to Agatha, I got you. But she like sits me down in our first meeting ever and creates a roadmap of exactly what I need to do to quit my job. And she's like, okay, so if we can get you to this number, which seemed like an insane number at the time, will you quit your job? Like, will you actually do it? And I was like, yes, I will do it. But in the back of my head, I'm like, we're never going to get there. Like, we're so far away from this. And within 3 months, she got me there, like easy. And the only thing that was missing was this like padded savings account that my husband and I really wanted to have. We wanted to have like 6 months put away before I quit my job. And I was losing it because suddenly I had a full book of clients for Hello SEO and I had this full-time job. It was a nightmare, but like a good nightmare, I guess.
Yeah.
And so finally it was like something clicked in my head one day and I was like, I have to quit. Like I have to be done. Like we're going to have to jump without the full safety net. And I called Agatha. She was like, do it. You can get a business loan. Like if you need extra money. I like called my dad. I called my father-in-law, like anyone I could think of who would like tell me if this was a good or a bad idea. And they were all like, do it, go for it. And which was not what I was expecting. I thought everyone was going to be like, this is bad. So I put in my 2 weeks, which was terrifying in itself. I actually was at FEM. I like wrote up the 2-week notice and then went downstairs to happy hour and like had a cocktail in my hand and was like surrounded by my friends when I hit the button and then like slammed my computer shut and was like, okay, it's Friday. I'm done. I'm not looking at this again. That was terrifying, but I quit. The day that I quit or the day that I was done, I ended up getting to pitch my business at the Growth Summit, which is like a big entrepreneurial summit here in Columbia, which was like such a cool, like chapter ending kind of thing, like new chapter beginning, I guess. But then I had all these plans for all the things I was going to do now that I could like market my business and get on LinkedIn and all these kinds of things. And then I literally never got to do any of them because business just blew up immediately. Like I already had the clients that I needed. I was already making enough. But then clients just kept coming in. Like I literally never had to worry about the things that I thought I needed to worry about. There was 1,000 things that I did not consider worrying about, that I should have worried about. But it ended up being like a completely positive, wonderful experience. And I had a client come in December because I quit in October. And she's like, yeah, can I just pay you up front for the entire year? And so she ended up filling that entire like gap in our savings account that I was missing.
Wow.
She was like, yeah, can I have a discount if I pay you up front? And I was like, yes, absolutely. Never had considered that before. It was just like everything worked out. And like, we've never had a month that things have been sketchy or like scary when it comes to paying the bills. Everything's worked out. I was really worried about health insurance. That was super easy to get in place.
Yeah.
Not a big deal. And it was just like incredibly worth it. And now I think I make 4 to 5 times what I made at that startup job. And I work 4 hours a day, having a great time.
So worth it. So worth it. Doing what you want to do, how you want to do it. And it's great because that confirmation was showing up for you. Like, yes, you did the right thing. And now you get to experience all the blessings pouring in. I know that was nerve-wracking. You know, I did the same thing. And it was like, when you quit, your armpits are sweating, you're itching, you're like, all of the reactions inside are going off because you really feel bad about it. You feel like you're leaving somebody behind or you're doing something that you shouldn't be doing. And it's crazy that you called up everyone when you quit your job, because I told my boyfriend and my son, and that was it. Like, I pitched my plan to them. I refused to tell my family, my parents, anybody, because it was like, I knew, just like you said, you thought everybody was going to be like, no, don't do it. I knew everybody was going to be like, are you out of your mind, girl? You know, because you're raised like, get a good job with great benefits. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you
Exactly.
already had a great job.
Yeah. It's like I had already like made it, and like this is just what I was supposed to have, it felt like.
Yeah.
But like, as it turns out, you can get your own health insurance and you can get your own 401k. Like, there's like, you don't owe these people anything, and you can go do whatever you want. And you had a really interesting validating experience very early on too, when you did your art show, right?
Yeah. Yes. Fem is a magical place. Okay.
It really is.
There are magical vibes there. There are magical people there. And I always tell Nell, the owner, that I'm just so grateful for her stepping out there and fulfilling a dream that she had, which helped us to fulfill our dreams, you know?
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, it was all you. Yeah. But none of us are self-made, and somebody has a hand in everything that we do. And yeah, I started getting confirmations right away. And it was like, that was how I knew that I did the right thing. Because like you said, it was like the day the day after I quit, it was like the next day there was an interview for the city that I did. And it was during the day. I wouldn't have been available if I was still working.
Yeah.
So it was
oh my
like
gosh.
things just started flowing in. And it was almost like I was telling people, like, there was a door that opened that was like, welcome. We've been waiting for you.
Oh my
We've
gosh.
been waiting for you to do your own thing. Can you just imagine that in your head? Like, that's how it feels when you get the confirmation after you quit your job and all of the things start going well. And you're like, okay, it's fine. I'm okay. I'm not homeless. And
yeah.
And I don't have to worry about all of the, because a lot of the worries that we have in our head are never going to come true.
No.
Mm-mm.
I remember like being in Fem one day and your art is all over the walls. And then I come in the next day and there's nothing but nails in the walls because people have bought every piece of art that you had. And that was literally, was that literally like day 2 of you not having your job anymore?
Yeah. Like, I'm telling you, people were trying to buy stuff even before the show that I had. But it was like, well, I've got to keep this up on the wall so that people will have a show. You know what I mean? So I know I quit my job on March 2nd. There was like an interview or something on March 3rd. March 15th was my art show. It was a packed house, standing room only, people overflowing out of the doors and everything, I was overwhelmed in a good way, because it was like, wow, just like you said, the business started pouring in, the opportunities started pouring in. Like people were
Yeah.
like, oh, about time you quit that silly job. I've been waiting on you.
Oh, it's so cool. That's so inspiring. This is like
Yeah.
refilling my like everything's gonna be fine cup over
Yeah.
here.
Mine too. Mine too. I like this conversation is reinforcing my everything is going to be fine cut, because as an entrepreneur, you constantly have those moments. Like,
Oh, totally.
is everything going to be okay? Am I going to be fine, or am I going to have to pivot in some way? You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. We need to
So
celebrate your anniversary at happy
we
hour.
do. Oh my gosh, yes. Okay, we'll talk about this after we
Yes.
end the live stream. I'm so excited. I was just thinking about that. I'm like, dang, February is almost out the door. It's time for me to celebrate my anniversary, because you and I, we don't even realize how rare we are being women in business, stepping out, doing our own thing, and jumping out there and actually creating our own safety net. Like
Yeah.
after we jumped out, we started weaving the safety net underneath us.
Exactly. Yeah.
We started sewing the parachute in the air. Like, you know what? I am not going to fall to the bottom. I am going to
Right.
be okay. Yes.
Yeah. Do you know Dr. Noor from Entreprenista?
Not yet.
Okay, I'm going to introduce you guys. We were having a
Okay.
power hour recently, and she's a healthcare concierge. She's how I got my healthcare when I exited my business. And
See?
she's super cool. I know, just like the
Perfect.
connections are perfect. But
Yes.
she said something in our call, and I was like, why would anyone have a full-time job when they could just go make like 5 times more doing it on their own? And she's like, I understand what you're saying. No one else does. She's like, no
Mm-hmm.
one thinks like that. And it really is, it's a massive mindset shift. But once you can do it, it's like, oh, you can just do whatever you want and make a bunch of money and stay in your house if you want to. That's who would have thought?
Who would have thought? Who would have thought? And having people like that, and like you and like me, help to expand other women to know that it's possible for them as well, to know what's out there, to see it, for it to be real to them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Gosh. Okay. Let's go out of here on some SEO stuff.
Okay.
And I love how this is all relating to life, because I always tell women that the thing you're seeking is about you and how you're showing up, and it's really a lot about your personal branding, and like I asked you before, your personal keyword, like how you
Mm.
are showing up, how you're appearing to the world. And I've been so impressed with my son lately. I told Emily this, like how he's showing up in the world for himself, like almost creating this avatar of himself and deciding, okay, my keywords are for him. He's getting ready to go to college, and he's got that in his mind. So in his mind, his college student, track star, I don't know, homework backpack, like he's carrying his notebook around. He's starting to make his checklist and be intentional the night before and the morning of, okay, I'm going to do this. And just really helping, he's creating and shaping his own life by deciding who he is as a person and what that means, in the
Mm-hmm.
language that he uses, in the way that he dresses, in the way that he appears to the world. So, have you thought about your personal Jade hashtag? And if someone were to search for you, how are you showing up to the world?
I have been thinking about it, and it hasn't actually evolved much. I really just want to be a good friend, and that's within the business world and just in my personal life.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be a listening ear. I want to like be an empathetic person and just like have fun at the same time. Um and I love being a connector. That's like my true calling. Like
That you
SEO is really
are.
cool and everything. And listening
Yeah.
to your podcast with Emily, I was like, you mentioned Natasha and me, and then of course it's you and Emily, and it's like I brought all these people together. I love it. This is exactly what I want to do. Yes. And it's like, that's truly like where I find all my joy. It's like, I want to be your friend, but I also want to introduce you to all my other friends, and then we can all be friends, and we can all build our businesses together, and we can all have success, or we can all just be buds and go to happy hour. It doesn't matter.
Exactly. Whatever. We're here for it all. So you see this question that I popped on the screen. How are you serving your purpose through Hello SEO? And you just answered that. Yeah. Because it's more than the business. It's your entire life.
Right. Yeah.
So and I love it.
I've thought about that as well, because it's like there are people who like charge you to like network for you and connect you to people. And like that's not what? And like it's kind of cool, but it's like that's not the vibe I want. It's like, you know, I drive people into Entreprenista all the time, but I'm like never going to sign up for the affiliate, because it's like I want you to know that I want you to be here because like you should be here, like not because I'm going to get like a couple $100 or something off of it. And I had a point with this and I totally lost it.
Well, you really mean it. And you're serving your purpose and fulfilling yourself and fulfilling other people just through the connections and through what you do. And it's all a web that works together.
Yes, exactly. Okay. It came back to me. I realized that when I'm meeting people, if it's for work or not, if it's just like a coffee chat, or if it's like you're considering being a client, I can always end that call with like, who do you want to be connected with? Or who do you need to be connected with? And everyone will be like, oh, I haven't thought about that. I really need a graphic designer. And I'm like, oh, I know a great graphic designer. So it's a way for me to provide value to people and also like help them out and like build my own network. That's completely free to me and super fun and exactly what I want to be doing.
I love that. And you're getting it all back. It's coming all back like a boomerang. It's perfect. So tell everyone how they can connect with you, how they can work with you.
Yes. Okay. So my website is helloseo.com. You can find me on LinkedIn. That's my main place, under Jade Pruett. I'm the one with Taylor Swift memes everywhere. Jade from Hello SEO on Instagram. And ways you can work with me, we can do a power hour together. That's $199. And we just sit down for an hour. We get really fun, amazing results from those. We can do a content hub, which we talked about a little bit, but essentially I interview you for an hour and a half. You get 10 to 12 amazing blog posts that are fully optimized for SEO, and it's in your voice and it's your expertise, and they're really, really cool. You can also just come on and be a full client. And if you are interested in that, contact me. Let's set up a call and like see what's going on with your SEO. I also have a free SEO report card on my website. You can just pop in your URL and your target keyword, and I'll make you a custom video explaining all of your SEO to you and like what everything means. And that's typically a good way to like get started on like, do I even need SEO? Like, what am I doing here? So lots of different ways to connect.
Great. Okay. Well, Jade, thank you so much for being here. And we will definitely continue to talk offline. And for anyone who's watching, thank you for watching us. For anyone who's listening, thank you for listening to the Bliss Code Podcast, and continue connecting with us and sharing with us and growing in your personal development, personally, professionally, and just connecting with other like-minded women. I think that's so important for us to grow our community. And that's really the way that we level up and manifest our best life, is by having connections with people that make us feel good about ourselves and are elevated themselves. So it's kind of like accountability, and we're pulling each other up at the same time. So thank you for being here. Everybody check out Jade on helloseo.com and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you for tuning into the Bliss Code Podcast.
Yay. Thanks for having me.